I'm Joe Kramer, composer of Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to listen to this podcast from the Geekcast Radio Network.
You're tuned in to Steve Megatron on Altered Geek Unlimited.
Hello and welcome to Altered Geek. I'm your host, Steve Megatron Phillips, and joining me this week is
Steve, Joe, and Mike.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for having me. So, really quickly, I'm very disappointed in this entire audience for this podcast.
How so?
Because I was really hoping the questions last week would have gotten more answers. 2 questions I asked were, where do you get your geeky news, and what are your holiday frustrations? I was really hoping we would have more comments answering those questions.
So nobody's frustrated and nobody gets geeky content.
Apparently not.
Amazing.
Kind of sucks.
Mm-hmm.
That just kind of really sucks.
Houston, we have a problem.
So, what have you been geeking out about this week?
Well, various TV shows, and then, of course, I animated a video for the Top 100, and it's all over internets now, but did it for school.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, teacher had a couple of minor critiques, which I did in class, and then returned it in and got 100% on it.
Awesome. There you go.
Mm-hmm. And the hardest part was, like, I learned how to animate the lightsaber part, like of it turning on and then just like pulsating with the energy.
Right.
And then the worst part was animating the mouth.
Yeah.
Well,
you had asked me beforehand, this is when you were working on it last week, to look at it before you actually put it out online. And I noticed that your speech pattern on the audio part, the mouth wasn't matching it. So I said that was the one thing that I thought you needed to work on. The rest of it looked great.
And then I did fix that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was kind of interesting to do. And then I realized that there was a section that for one, I made the character move too much in the beginning, so I had to move the mouth, like, literally every time. Like, not only move the mouth, but then make it, like, do whatever the vocal effect was.
Right.
And I had to move frame by frame. So it was a very tedious process. I think it took me about an hour just for that beginning part to animate it. And then the second part where the character doesn't move at all, it took me about 2 hours to do all the vocals, or lining up the vocals with the mouth flaps, because it was something new to me, and I had to do it with the way it was set up. Well, and then also I had the character on the left side, and the teacher wanted the character on the right side pointing at the information with the hand that's open.
Right.
Because he was like, that would make more sense and look better, and I was like, yeah, you're probably right. I just wasn't thinking about it. And he says, oh, it shouldn't be too hard to flip. And then I was like, oh. So I managed to slide over all the text and all that content and then just flip the direction that the transitions worked. And then I was like, how am I going to get the mouth moved for the character for every time the mouth flapped? Because I had about 60 splits in that section. And I wasn't sure how I was going to get them all lined up perfectly. And then I figured out what the axis was on it. And I had to punch that in individually to each one once I moved it. I was able to still keep the same effect in the same spot. It was just a matter of lining up the mouth to the new location, which only took me about a half an hour to move it all because it was just going in and changing a setting.
Right.
So,
well, that's cool.
So yeah, it worked out. I mean, I know what it involves now, so I might actually try that with something else in the future, but unsure of what at this point, because this is
Very
2D
cool.
animation compared to 3D, and
Oh yeah.
I do want to try my hand at both, but
Yeah, you got to start somewhere. You know.
I may actually animate like part of my Altered Generations at some point, and then decide that I'm not going to animate anymore. But I kind of do that one and done project type thing.
Right. Well, that's cool. And again, it's a skill that you can learn. You know, like you said, you're learning 2D right now, and at some point you can then, once you've mastered that to the best of your ability, you can then go and learn 3D, and the same thing.
And the great part is I used Adobe After Effects for like the lightsaber and part of the movement of the character, and then everything else I did in Adobe Premiere. And the instructor was like, "That was really well done. I only pet peeves," and he had me take the because I had, you know how I like the overlays over
Right.
everything, and I
Yep.
used them even on this show art. So I used that to cover up part of something, and he said it looks a little weird, and so he puts in the notes, remove J.J. Abrams-y-ish gradient thing over the section, and I was like, it's not J.J. Abrams. I says it's a graphical critique that I do from time to time. So
there's no lens flare here.
there's no lens. I said there's no lens flare. I says, well, unless you count the GCRN logo at the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, I removed that, and then that was the easiest edit. And then the other part was just moving stuff around, and so yeah, I got full credit. But he ended up asking my opinion on how to do stuff when other people's assignments came up, because I knew the program a little bit better than the students and how I would have done it. So
Right.
which was nice.
Very cool, very cool. Well, since we're talking about school, I noticed that 2 different school stories popped up
Is it
today.
I know one of them, but is the other one something different too?
The other one is it's from New Hampshire. It's the MCAS opt-out movement drive. It's basically opting out of the standardized testing thing. It's right there.
Benefit of homeschooling is you don't have to.
Right, yeah. So, again, because I find the best way for me to get the information across is to read it. I'm sorry, folks. It's just the way I work. Last spring, all 25 of Danica Tomiski's 5th graders did something nearly unheard of in Massachusetts. They refused to take the state standardized test. So the Swift River school teacher traded the preparation and 24 hours of test-taking time for another educational activities for her students. Rehearsing a play, studying salamanders as part of a climate change research, and even journeying to pre-algebra, which in other years I haven't been able to get to because we're doing so much test prep, she said. Swift River, which is in New Salem and also serves Wendell, is one of the dozens of schools across the state in which fewer than 90% of students in any particular grade took the MCAS or PARC tests. At Swift River and many other schools, the low participation rates resulted from successful grassroots opt-out movements among families who reject the value of the tests for a number of reasons.
The funny thing with this is I've never heard of either of those tests, which means that there's something new since we went to school.
It's well,
unless
okay.
it's local to Massachusetts.
Yeah, it's those tests are local to Massachusetts, but every state has standardized testing for students. Like when I was a kid in Massachusetts, we went through, like, those question and answer tests that calculate what your job is going to be when you grow
Oh yeah,
up.
those are so stupid.
Yeah, it's to my understanding, and I could be wrong, but it's that type of standardized test. It's to test your aptitude. It's to test your, it's just a state standardized thing to make sure you're placed where you're supposed to be placed in school.
Yeah.
As far as I understand it.
Little Johnny, what does that say? It says I'm going to be a dairy machinist. Oh, so you're going to work at Dairy Queen. I'm a dairy machine engineer.
That's about right.
That's like how dumb their tests are. Like they tell you all these goofy things, and then I remember taking the MEP test, which is like the Michigan Educational Aptitude something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's essentially what
But anyways, we had to take it in 5th grade, I think 7th grade, and then like 9th grade or something like that. And 11th grade was the next time. Anyways, they made us take these stupid tests, and I remember I had like skill center, and they're like, oh, you're not gonna, which is like you go to another school for like specialty classes. And I was taking, I think at the time, like web design, and they're like, oh, you're not gonna be able to go, and I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure I'm going. I'll be done with the test. They're like, you won't be done with the test. Nobody gets done with the test before, the 3-hour mark. And I'm like, well, I'll be the first one to tell you I'll be done. And so they, I think they gave you 3 hours, but the class was only 45 minutes for me because I would leave.
Right.
And that one was my computer tech class that I was taking that year. But they gave me the test. I put my headphones on with like some hard rock music because I thought I was going to be funny about it. And they're like, oh, you can't have a CD player in class because you might have the answers. And I'm like, it's rock music. Put it on your head and listen. I'm like, and 2, I says, it helps me concentrate. And because I said it helps me concentrate, they let me have the headset on.
Sweet.
While I was taking the test. And because I was angry, I did really well at the test. Because I didn't want to be there. That was the main point. So what they had us write like argumentative papers, and we had to do it like every day that week. And I just remember being infuriated because one, they told me I couldn't go to Skill Center, which was the highlight of my day because I could leave 45 minutes early from school because you're only at Skill Center like 2.5 hours.
Right.
So I remember that, and then I had enough time one day because I finished after like half an hour. I was reading like a short story my friend wrote, and then they're like, "Oh, what are you doing?" And I says, "I'm done." They're like, "You're done? Don't you want to check your answers?" No, not really. So I mean, like I constantly just shoved it in their face like every day, and they just let me get away with it. So I just whatever. But like nowadays, I think that it's such a waste of time because like this article says of teachers being forced to teach to the test instead of teaching kids how to be intelligent and up to the standards of the rest of the world. It's
when I was a kid, they always made it seem like the state standardized testing or the aptitude testing stuff was supposed to help me in the long run. It was supposed to improve my life. It was supposed to give them answers as to why I was the way I was and this, that, and the other thing and everything else. And it's like, I spent all that time in school taking all those stupid tests when I could have been learning even more. All that time I spent taking those state standardized testing, my math teachers could have taken all that time to try to teach me beyond remedial math.
Oh, I know. I'm horrible with math too, and it's
for me when I got to high school and algebra and calculus and all that stuff, but algebra specifically, it's like 2 plus y equals x. Why can't you just sit there and say 2 plus 2? Or 2 plus 3 or 2 plus 9 or 2. It's like, why you got to bring the alphabet into this?
3y plus times 9x equals 1747. Weird, figure out what x and y are. Thanks. Yeah, just make it more complicated. Who made up this math? They should be, royally beaten.
Yeah. They must have been on meth while they were making up that
What's funny
map.
is, after I got done with high school, I took the entrance exam to the community college I'm currently going to.
Right.
Because I did win the MEP awards to where you got, standardized test money towards
Right.
college. And I registered for 2 classes, which I promptly bailed out of like a month into them, which screwed me later, but I'm not going to get into that part of it. But it did help me buy a new set of tires for my truck, so I do remember that. But because I got the refund check. And they so I took the entrance exam, and I actually did about average for my English on the entrance exam, and then my math I had at the time, it would have been the equivalent of math 160, which is like some kind of an algebra or a math, now if I would have gotten in with that same math that I took that test to get into the entrance exam. Now, if I would have taken it, it would have been Math 98.
Oh,
so it would have been like pre-100 level classes, and it would have been like pre-Math 120. So they say that actually from the time that I got in, it was the equivalent of Math 120, which means that for my associate's degree, I don't have to take a math class.
Sweet.
Which I was very excited for, because they're 4 days a week and an hour and a half pops, and you have to go to school to take it. Which I'm not wasting 4 days of my life to take math classes. So, especially when I don't want them for this degree, I don't really need them. It's media. I'm not going to be a guy building sets or, determining, different dimensions or vertices of stuff. Like, yeah, I have to know the X and Y axis for certain things in animation, but I pretty much have that down with the pixels anyway. But it surprised me, because then and this kind of leads to some other crap now. Like I went into my college this week because I skipped half my class on Monday. Because I was already done with my assignment the night before, and I had stuff to get taken care of, because my program evaluation tells me that I had to take another general education class, when this time last year it said I was good. I was actually 1 credit over. And my math, they were telling me I had to take a math class, and then they were telling me some other class I had to take. So I had to go to an advisor, get it straightened out, and I'm like, look, I have documentation. This time last year, I'm like, a part of my program degree, like the computer classes were general ed classes at the time. So they were able to re-put that in there. They checked my math, they checked all that stuff, like everything was golden. And so I just got to get a waiver for my teacher for a substitute class I took. So, but I'm going to be graduating college in the spring. So
cool.
Thankfully, so done going. Like, I enjoy the stuff that I'm learning. I like my teacher. I like the classes that I'm taking now. But, like, I absolutely despise having to go there every day and eat away at my paycheck, because they're all during the middle of the day. And, I mean, I know this has gone way left field from
no, that's fine.
test, but, like, it was irritating to me, because, like, it was like they were trying to force me to take more classes, because I've been going to community college for 4 years, technically, by the time I graduate. Which it's a 2-year degree, but they don't work, like, no community college works with full-time workers. Because their classes are like during the day. They're the most inconvenient times in the world, and they're like 2 to 3 hour classes a piece. So, like, it makes it near impossible, unless you have an employer that will work with you to take these classes. And then plus the drive time. So, like, I'm eating away like 3.5 hours, 7 hours out of my work week.
Yeah. Well, it's almost over, and you'll get a degree out of it, so that's good. The other school issue that popped up this week, also local to my home state of Massachusetts, in Boston, the superintendent is considering ditching middle school. Once again, I will be reading from the article here. This is from WCVB Channel 5, Boston's news leader. The superintendent of Boston Public Schools is considering the elimination of middle school in favor of a system with elementary schools that end at 6th grade and high schools that begin at 7th grade. Tommy Chang has been discussing the proposal with principals this summer as a way to streamline the school system and mitigate the effects of declining enrollment in middle grades. Chang says the new configurations have the potential to strengthen the quality of education for 7th and 8th graders by consolidating support services in fewer schools. Critics are fearful that the changes may cause other unforeseen issues. Chang says right now the idea is to gauge interest to see if the plan is viable. Preliminary reports are expected to be presented to the school committee on October 5th, so next week. Here's the thing about this. Over my school lifetime, from kindergarten to 12th grade, I lived in Massachusetts from the time I was born in 1980 to the time I was 13 in 1993. I went to preschool. I went to kindergarten through 6th grade as elementary school. When I got to 7th grade, up north, they called it junior high school, essentially middle school, but they called it junior high. So middle school up there was 7 to 9, and then high school was 10 to 12. When I got here to Kentucky, I had 6, 7, and 8 as middle, and then 9 to 12 as high school here in Jefferson County, in Louisville, Kentucky. So obviously, I did 7th grade and 8th grade here, 93, 94. Actually, and it's kind of stupid and silly, I actually had to repeat the 8th grade because I failed health and PE. Whatever. I'm over that. So anyway, but high school for me was weird because I was a ward of the state of Kentucky at the time. I was in state's custody. I was going from foster home to foster home, from group home to group home, and various other things. So for me, in my 9th grade year, which was 96, yeah, I believe that's right, 96, I had 4 or 5 different 9th grade years, because every time I would have to change a placement, I would have to change schools. So even though I was still in my freshman year of high school, it felt like I went through 4 or 5 years of high school, even though I was only in the same grade. By the time I got to sophomore year, it kind of balanced out. Junior year, I was fine. I was at the school I was going to graduate from, which I did. I personally think that putting K through 6 and then 7 through 12, that's too much. Like, K through 6 is fine. 7 to 12, that's too much. That is way too much age difference between 7th graders and seniors. Like, the way I view school, K through 6 was your kid years. 7 and 8, or 7, 8, and 9, or however you want to call it, was your middle, but right before you hit teenage years. And then high school is all about your teen years. That's the way I view it. So basically, voiding middle school completely and making it too, I just can't get behind that. That's just crazy to me. And before you give your opinion on this, I do want to bring up, I asked people, I asked a local radio station DJ here, MJ on the Air on Facebook. I asked her to comment on this because she is a mother and she has a child in school and everything else. And I want to read some of these comments because they're just, I don't know. So some of the comments here. From our buddy Michael Wilson. Michael says, I don't see the problem with it. I've often wondered why we need to separate school for 7th and 8th graders. My elementary school had 6th grade too, but his wife, Chrissy, probably has a more educated answer, and sadly Chrissy never answered. And I went back and forth with Michael. You had said, your opinion. The radio DJ I mentioned, MJ, on 106.9 Play here in the mornings. She says, horrifying. They already try and separate 6th from 7th and 8th in many middle schools, and freshmen from upperclassmen. I say because of such varying physical and emotional maturity levels, it's a very bad idea. Which you had replied, you had told your story, and then Michael told his story. One of MJ and Jesse's listeners replied kind of the same thing. Horrible idea. Her name is Jackie. Horrible idea. When I went, it was K to 6, 7 to 9, and 10 to 12, like I mentioned. Now my son goes K to 4, 5 to 8, and 9 to 12. I'm already, even though not there yet, having issues with 5th graders being in school with 8th graders, 7th and 12th, the same school as MJ on the Air said. Horrifying. The last comment here is from another one of our buddies, Dan Clark, from Talking in Circles. Go listen to Talking in Circles on GCRN, folks. Dan says, that's how my school was set up. We didn't have a middle school, just an elementary school that was K to 6 and a high school that was 7 to 12. Granted, it was a small school, class sizes under 200 kids in Baltimore. Now it's common as well, where a lot of schools actually share buildings. Had to do it when I was teaching. There was a high school on the first floor that was from a separate school, elementary levels on the second floor, and middle school on the third. Depending on the building and amount of students, it is actually not that difficult to keep everyone separated. There are a great deal of benefits to it, especially when it comes to transportation and building costs. Why pay to heat and power 2 half-full schools rather than 1 full one?
Which
He makes a good point.
Well, and that's kind of what my point was about the whole thing is it's not horrible if you grew up with it because you understand how it works. And those that didn't have that and had the 3 different schools, because I had kindergarten through 6th grade in the same school, and I moved rooms around like in that school, and how they did it was they kept the lower your grade, the less rooms you had to go to, obviously.
Right.
And honestly, they had specific rooms in our elementary school. So basically, like, you had the same teacher all day long.
Yeah.
Unless they had, like, music or gym or something, then they take you to the whatever room that is. But your classroom was your classroom. You didn't move. And we had... you would basically, like, they had K through 3 down one hallway, and then they had 4 through 6 down the other hallway, because, like, the elementary school was, like, maybe 150 kids, like, if that, maybe 200 kids. But, and then there was one room in the building that was 4 through 6, so you had a shared room.
Right.
Which I was in that room, so I had that room from 4th grade till 6th grade. And it wasn't that big of a deal. Like, the only people I got in a fight with were the people in my own grade. So, like, it wasn't that big of a deal. And then, when I got out of there and I went to the other school, which was 7 through 12, the 7th graders, originally when I went there, you still had to move around, but it was during one section of the building. Same thing with 8th grade, but once I hit, more of the open classes, you could end up with people that are in 9 through 12 in any of the classes, depending on what people took at what time. And so I had, all of those classes, and I never really had a problem. I mean, they kept, towards the end, like when I was in 11th and 12th grade, they moved actually 6th grade into the same building too. Which I thought was a bad idea, because granted, the 6th graders had, like, the basement rooms, which were originally they were repurposed from something else. Like, they had shop class and something else that was down there, but they were just basically empty rooms, and they turned them into 6th grade rooms, and they just stayed down there all day, the 6th graders. Right. And then they had moved 7th grade down there eventually too, but they eventually switched it so that they went to the 3 school system after I graduated. And after my brothers graduated, they moved it so that they had K through 5, and then 6 through 8, and then 9 through 12. And then what ended up happening was the school systems started losing money. And they had to reconsolidate again.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this was after they closed many high schools and they closed many elementary and middle schools. They ended up closing pretty much all the middle schools again and recombining them back to, K through 6 and then 7 through 12 because it was more cost effective. Because there's only 2 high schools. There used to be 6 high schools in Flint.
Mm-hmm.
And then and only 2 or 3 of them had, actually only 2 of them had K through 12.
Right.
The rest of them were the 3 setup system. All the ones that were separate, middle schools and high schools, closed down. And then about half the elementary schools, because there was about 12 of those, and they all closed down over the years too. But I think partially it's because population drop, and then 2 because it was a money issue. And I don't see a problem with it because I lived it and I didn't have any problems with. I mean, really, the only part that sucked about being with the older class people was the bus ride.
Yeah.
And that was because I got picked on from the time I went to 7th grade until I'd say 11th grade.
Right.
Not even 11th grade. Through the end of 10th grade, I got picked on.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't matter. Like, I was picked on the whole time on the bus and throughout school. So it didn't really matter. Once I left elementary school, I wasn't top dog anymore. I was bottom of the barrel. And it wasn't until I hit 11th grade that I actually got back to the top and was riding high again through my senior year. But it also helped that I beat the crap out of somebody on a bus, but which I don't know if I've ever told that story, but
oh, you got to tell that story now.
This kid that had been tormenting me since I was in 7th grade with his little cronies in the back of the bus, because I sat in the front to begin with, and every year you earn the right to move further back. And I was about halfway most of the time. And then I was like a couple seats from being in the back. Like I was about 4th row from the back, and they were all like the back 3 rows. This one kid screwed with me. I don't even know what it was. I think I was on acne medicine, because at the time there was this, I think it was like Accutane or something like that, or I don't know, it was something like that. But there was like this acne medicine that would like give you extreme like mood swings, to the point that like you either were very violent or you were suicidal. I went to the very violent side. So, and it screws with your head, like your mental equilibrium just totally screwed. Plus you're aging and going through things that you didn't know about before. So like your body's already in flux, and then you're having to deal with like adult issues now of, get a job and all this other crap.
Right.
So this kid screwed me on the wrong day, and I would sit in the bus and listen to my headphones, like just jamming out to myself, like just staring out the window, minding my own business. This kid cracks me with a belt.
Oh.
Very lightly. And I had sensed that's what he was doing. I already had my belt like at the ready. Like it was already unbuckled. I had it at the ready. And then he decided to crack me when I was getting off the bus. And my brothers were sitting in the front of the bus, like they hadn't earned the right to sit in the back yet, but I would have let them sit with me. It didn't matter.
Right.
They had friends up in the front anyway, so it didn't bother me. And then this kid cracks me while I stand up to walk off the bus. To which I dropped my bag. I grabbed I pulled like a Zorro move, like almost not having seen Zorro, but like I pulled like a Zorro move where like I ripped the belt right off of my pants and like folded it in half and then just beat the living crap out of this kid in the back of the bus. And I felt horrible, but mentally I was gone.
So basically you had your very own Scott Farkas.
Well, basically, but and I don't even know what happened. Like it was almost like a Dexter moment, just like blackout and then come to, and like this kid's like cowering in the corner, and he's a senior or 11th grader or something, and I'm a 10th grader, and I just beat the crap out of this kid. And I wailed on him probably like 4 or 5 times, and then I stopped, and then I straightened up enough and just started laughing like hysterically. And then the bus driver didn't even care because like he'd watched these kids like torment me for a couple of years. So he's just like, I didn't see nothing basically. Like he didn't say anything,
Yeah.
but he just kind of looked on and turned the other way and kind of smirked and dropped my brothers and I off. And like everybody was laughing hysterically at this kid on the bus. To which the next day he came with all of his cronies that used to ride in the back with him before they got cars. To one of my classes, and fortunately for me, I was a teacher's aide in one of the classes, and everybody liked me because I was also like helpful with their grades and their attendance, because I entered it.
Right.
And they basically put a blockade in front of me when these kids started coming after me, and scared them off, and they left. And never bothered me again. And I never saw that kid ride the bus ever again after that.
That's awesome.
It was like years of like pent up frustration of being like bullied for years. And I just snapped. And I think I may have told it on the bullying episode of Geekcast Radio, but I'm not entirely sure. But like, that was like the only real incident I had was it was this one kid, like for years. And I didn't want the confrontation of it. And then just one day my mind just shut off. And then the emotion part of me kicked in and was like, no, I'm done. And so I mean, like, it was years of torment. So like back to the 7 through 12 thing, I don't think it necessarily is a bad thing. I think the bus can be bad, but I think that's because you get all these immature kids. I don't know how it is now, because obviously rules and parenting rules and schools and all that stuff have changed quite a bit.
Right.
For the most part, for the worse. Especially depending on what area, but it's.
So let me ask you: are you and Mary gonna homeschool? Are you guys gonna put them in public school, or what are you gonna do?
Is we both decided we're going to homeschool. Both kids, because I don't like and necessarily agree with everything they're teaching these kids in school nowadays.
You know what I found out? Did you ever?
Well, you go ahead.
Did you ever, in school, did you ever read the Shel Silverstein books, like Where the Sidewalk Ends and The Light in the Attic?
Oh, yeah.
So you read those when you were in what, elementary, middle school?
Somewhere in that vicinity.
I just found out that those are now on the banned book list.
Doesn't surprise me.
I'm like, wait, what? Why?
We used to read Goosebumps and whatever the other ones were that.
Yeah, Fear Street.
Yeah, we were allowed to read stuff like that too. Of course, Harry Potter's okay, but heaven forbid kids read.
Yeah.
But
what were you gonna say?
Probably because it doesn't allow for the PC police to rewrite them.
True.
No, so we're homeschooling them because I don't necessarily, neither one of us agree with like how schools are. Plus, like I remember how rotten it was for me just in school.
Right.
Whether it be the bus, like, and then two, like, the stuff they teach, like it literally was like test taking and then crap that you really didn't need to know all of that information. You could have moved on to like more updated stuff. Plus the books are like 10, 15 years old when you get them. So they're already outdated and you're already, any information that you could have had. I mean, granted, the internet back then wasn't that big of a thing, so they didn't,
Yep.
And they still give kids books, and they charge parents for everything anyway. So, like, if you're going to go to all that, I feel bad for the parents or for the teachers. But even nowadays, like, a lot of the teachers are kind of, I'm not saying all of them because, like, there are a lot of, I love teachers. Be careful
how you word that, because we've got several friends that
Kevin was a teacher.
Yeah, Kevin was a teacher.
And so like I have the utmost respect for teachers. Like they have a tough job to stand up there and tell these kids, information that they've learned and get them to relay it and remember it. And if you have the right kind of teacher, I mean, you're going to remember pretty much anything they say, because if they put it, an entertaining and um, uh, a way to attach it to your personal life, you're going to remember it. And whereas if you're one of those teachers that's monotone and drones on, nobody's going to remember or learn anything. And that was part of the problem I had with school. Was I had the teachers that were awesome and challenged me and made things fun, but also made me learn.
Right.
And then I had the ones that they followed their curriculum. They didn't allow for the fact that kids wouldn't understand anything, such as my math classes.
Right.
And then you get the things of science. I love how much influence they put in science when it's not 100% correct either. Like, because my wife and I have always we've always believed in God and everything. So
yeah,
it's always been one of those things in the back of our mind that like science doesn't quite make sense or add up. In quite a few situations, especially when their focus groups or research groups don't necessarily have any quantifiable information towards anything.
right.
And the same time, how do we know how old the universe is, how old the planet is, when the dinosaurs showed up, when, any of that kind of, oh, it's billions of years old. Now they're like, oh, the planet's like 6,000 years old, which, if you read the Bible, lines up with that. So like, I don't know, like science is such a, if you're going to believe one or the other, like it's either way, it's a belief.
Yeah.
And so like it's just funny with science. So like I don't, that's another thing that we don't really want to, I mean, we want to teach them obviously, but like some of the stuff that's questionable, obviously I'm not going to mess with. The planets, I know those are there, so that's obviously something I enjoyed as a kid is the solar system, and it fit in with Star Trek and stuff like that. And
Yakko's universe.
so I mean, in that sense, like some of those things, that's what I don't agree with, and I agree with, and I don't agree with the standardized testing. I find that to be a total waste of time. Because it doesn't teach anything other than how to take a test, and some kids are just bad at it. Yeah. I was bad at it.
Well, there's no real study, like these standardized testings, there's no real studying for these. Like, this isn't you as a senior studying for the ACT or the SAT to get into college.
Well, you don't even need those to get into college. I mean, yeah, you need them to get into an Ivy League, like, Harvard or, who cares?
Well, okay, but what I'm saying is, like, the standardized testing, there's no way to study for that stuff.
No, there's not. Well, there are websites now, but...
Okay, well, when we were kids...
They have these sites that were, like, brain dump stuff now, but...
Well, when I was a kid in the 80s and 90s, if you needed to study for something, you either had a set of Encyclopedia Britannicas,
I remember those.
You
remember Microsoft Encarta?
Oh God,
the digital encyclopedia. I had that
the
too.
horror.
Hey, I learned a lot of stuff about animals off of that. I was watching Beast Wars at the time. I knew everything about every one of the animals that were in that show.
Yep. Like you said earlier, all throughout elementary school, I had one teacher each grade. I had Mrs. Weston in first grade. Now kindergarten was a little different. In kindergarten, I had 4 different teachers, but that was only because depending on what kindergarten session I was going to, sometimes I was going to morning kindergarten, which would be one teacher. Sometimes I went to afternoon kindergarten, which would be a different teacher. And then the 4 of them swapped out. But anyway, so first grade I had Mrs. Weston, second grade I had Mrs. Carvalho, third grade I had Mrs. Hybertson, fourth grade I had Mrs. Dempsey. Actually, I had Mrs. Dempsey for 4th and 5th grade. So that was kind of cool. And then 6th grade I had Mrs. Hopkins. 7th grade was when we had 6 period days. So most high schools either have 6, 7, or 8 periods in one day. My favorite high school to go to, outside of the one I graduated from, was here in Kentucky. It was called Oldham County High School. And the reason why I loved this school, they had 90-minute classes. So you had more time in each class and less overall classes. So instead of having 6 or 7 periods, we only had 5. And we had twice the amount of class time that you would have in a normal period. So that was awesome. All right, so really quickly, before we take a break, we're going to take a look at one more story before we take a break here. California enacts law preventing IMDb Pro from listing actors' ages. In a move hailed by SAG-AFTRA as a major advance for working actors, California Governor Jerry Brown signed a bill today. This was September 24th, 2016. That will require IMDb Pro to remove the ages of actors and others listed on the site if asked by them to do so. The bill was published by SAG-AFTRA as a way to combat age discrimination, but is almost certain to face a First Amendment challenge. The bill was narrowly crafted to apply only to commercial, quote-unquote, commercial online entertainment employment providers that charge a subscriber's fee, as does IMDb Pro. Online publications such as Deadline, which is where the story is from, Deadline Hollywood, The Wrap, and Variety, which can be viewed for free, are not subject to the law. Now, before I read more into this story, my first thought on that first paragraph was, hello, they can just look on Wikipedia because they list their birth dates. But I mean, I understand it's to prevent age discrimination when getting roles and that kind of thing, so I do understand that. I don't know where I fall on this one, though. What is your opinion after checking the story out?
I think it's a load of crap because, like, if you're going to hire somebody based on, like, their appearance, age still kind of takes a consideration in that. Mm-hmm. So I find that to be a load of garbage that they're like, oh, we have to take the age off there because you're still going to know that they're either old or young. I mean, by looking at them, and they're either going to fit your part or they're not. Right. Because, like, if you're casting for a character that's supposed to be, like, 22 years old and a 45-year-old shows up, you're obviously not going to cast him. So it's still going to be either way. It's going to be a he said, she said, oh, they discriminated against me because I'm old. No, it's because you don't fit the part. Like, what does it matter?
Perfect example of this is Power Rangers. Most of those actors back in the day,
they were like 23, 24.
Yeah. Tommy's 40-something now. So 20-something years ago, he was, 18, 19, 20-something, playing a 15, 16-year-old high school student. I don't know. I just thought it was an interesting story. I saw it on Facebook. It was one of the things that caught my eye this week. So just wondering what everyone thinks about that. Before, did you have anything else we wanted to bring up before I take it to a break?
Nah.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back with some Altered Geek fun. We'll be back after this.
If you don't know why you're here, you're about to find out.
You do know I let you kidnap me, right?
No, we would have taken you. I doubt it.
Not unless you have a kryptonite arrow in that quiver.
Anyway.
So, what's with all the mysterious mystery?
You tell her.
Wait a sec. Is this that Fight Club thing? Oh, I've heard so much about this. I'm so excited.
If you thought the abduction was cool, you're really gonna like the upgrade.
We thought we needed to up the ante for someone of your abilities.
This is awesome. Is this where you train?
It's more of a team-up training facility with Team Tech pulling the strings.
Welcome to Superhero Fight Club 2.0.
More like Fight Club 9.0. Last one was about as legit as Commodore 64.
Oh.
I am shocked and dismayed.
Well, now you can't be both. You be shocked, I'll be dismayed.
Coming in 2016, Steve Megatron and myself, TF2 and Mike, bring you a brand new TV review show. Welcome to Podcaster Meets World. That's right, we're launching a Boy and Girl Meets World review podcast here on the GCRN. It'll take us 70 episodes of the podcast to review all 158 episodes of Boy Meets World. After that, we will tackle Girl Meets World. You can find Podcaster Meets World on geekcastradio.com and iTunes starting late summer, early fall 2016. So come on and walk through the world with us.
I love the thing they call.
It's time for Ernest and Edna, just a heavenly delight. They don't like drugs or alcohol, and they lean far to the right. Well, their heads are both half empty. You never know what they'll say about demons and hell, the lies liberals tell. If it needs cowbell, an old rebel yell. It's time for Ernest and Edna.
Hey, Ernest, come over here and look at this.
What you looking at over here, Edna?
I think the devil's coming to the earth on Friday.
Huh?
Yeah, Friday night we're going to be seeing some sort of strange phenomenon of the black moon.
A black moon? What's that mean? Hell.
Apparently, the way that the sun's going to hit the moon, it's going to cause a black moon and a black sky, which is going to make the moon invisible.
Damn, that sounds like all the sinning of the earth has culminated into one lunar cycle, and now we're all in trouble.
Well, and I think the moon's hiding because they know that the Lord's going to blow up the earth. It's got to be what's going on. I mean, I'd hide too if I were the moon.
Well, I don't know. Maybe we ought to take another look at this thing here and admit that Black Moon lives matter.
Well,
too.
They do. However, they only come around once every 30 years. You'd think if they wanted more attention, they'd speak out more other than every 30 years.
Damn, I hope no cops try to shoot at it.
Well, I don't know. It'll be hard for them to tell. They're used to a white moon being around.
I don't know what was wrong with the white moon.
Apparently, it's just going to be invisible, though, and the sunlit side of the moon's going to face away from the Earth. So basically, if you're anywhere but Earth, you'll still be able to see it. So it's like it's trying to turn its back on us. But I think this is a sign of the Lord coming because, when he takes away the moon, next he's going to take away the sun, and the next thing you know, there's no more flowers.
Some scary business.
It's terrifying.
Although on my final thoughts, my conclusion, I'll say all moons lives matter.
It's true.
All moons.
But be prepared. Friday at 8 o'clock is when you're going to see the moon give up on Earth and everything's going to hell, so you might as well rack up that credit card debt.
I'm heading into the rapture on a refinanced white horse.
Oh, Lordy.
I'm coming home, Lord.
Praise Jesus.
Ernest and Edna on the Carter Man Program. 107.7 The Eagle, Louisville's classic hits.
We are back here on Altered Geek, and next up we're going to talk about really quickly, in passing, the Black Moon.
Dark of the Moon?
No. Yeah, essentially. Okay, so the story came out, I heard it somewhere, and then I saw it on Facebook that I believe it's tomorrow night, September 30th. So the day that you all will hear this, September 30th, 2016, is a second new moon in 1 month. Basically, people call this the Black Moon. Full moon refers to the moment when the moon's earth-facing side is fully illuminated by sunlight, and a new moon refers to the moment when the moon's earth-facing side is fully in shadow. Sometimes when we have two full moons in 1 month, it's sometimes called a blue moon. That's why this one's called a black moon, because it's the flip side of it. This only ever really happens every, I think, 32 months or so. That was that's the other article says. Having two new moons in 1 month happens roughly once every 32 months. So once every 2.5 years?
Something like that.
But this is...
Something like that.
Yeah. When I first heard about this story, the first thing I went to this morning before we recorded this was I went to Google and I just Googled Black Moon. And that's what you guys are going to be seeing in in the art for this episode the picture of the black moon that I found because I just thought it was absolutely hilarious and looks really, really cool. Like, I've never seen anything like this. Normally when there's a moonless sky on the new moon phase, I just figure, oh, well, it's tonight's new moon night. That means no moons in the sky. But, I mean, this thing looks really friggin' cool. What are your thoughts?
Dark of the Moon.
Yeah. Dark Side of the Moon. Somebody cue Pink Floyd over here already.
Dark Moon. Dark Moon.
Let's just hope Sentinel's not anywhere around us.
He's dead, Jim. I'm so wrong on so many levels.
Yes, you are. So Altered Fun, I didn't realize how many anniversaries are happening this year. You got the 30th anniversary of Transformers the movie, 30th anniversary of any film coming out in 1986. So Ferris Bueller, Crocodile Dundee, all that stuff. Not Clarissa. Sabrina the Teenage Witch is turning 20 years old this year.
Beast Wars turned 20 years old this year.
Beast Wars turned 20 years old this year. So many anniversaries this year. One big one is 25 years since Nirvana's Nevermind album. Now, I know you don't really care about this. The only reason why I'm bringing this up is because the story I found was the guy who grew up, the guy that actually was the baby on the cover of the album, basically reenacted it for the 25th anniversary. Obviously, he
finally put pants on.
Yeah, he put shorts on this time, but I just think that's so cool with some of these anniversary things of what's coming out and what is being revealed and how certain things are being homaged. I think that's just so awesome. Normally we don't do fan theories around the GCRN. I mean, we have our own speculations, but we have well thought out speculations. We don't just do random Joe Schmo, oh, this character has to be this character, or this character has to be this character's kid because it's this, and that's all that matters. I don't know how I found this, but I found on YouTube a video that someone spent a lot of time going into and a lot of really educated points on why this could be. That Mace Windu... Shut up.
That's awesome.
That Mace
He did go out a window.
Shut up. That Mace Windu is actually Supreme Leader Snoke from Episode 7. So I'm going to have Steve put the video link in the post. I want people that are listening to this podcast to watch the video and let me know in the post comments what you think, if that's even possible. Now, had you seen the video?
Yeah, I watched it. That's why I reposted it earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Because I saw that video. I don't even know how it came up. I was just browsing.
I saw it somewhere. I don't know.
I posted it on Twitter earlier.
Yeah, I saw it on Facebook or Twitter or somewhere.
Well, they've got other theories on there, like Rey and Palpatine are related. Like Rey is like the granddaughter of Palpatine, and that was one thing that was said. And another thing was like they had that thing about
Did you fall out of your chair?
No, something fell under my desk and knocked my keyboard down. Luckily it got caught by the top of my desk. Yeah, they were talking about like Vader's alternate suit that he was supposed to have, and why Vader's breathing, why he's weaker because he's in the suit, but he made himself stronger, and all these weird theories. Which I was posting it, and like Indiana Jim was like absurd. And I was like, well, I was just saying it was interesting. I didn't say it was true. Right. It was a better fan theory than, half the other ones we've read.
Yeah.
I
just thought it was really, really interesting.
Yeah. So, I mean, and I'm curious as to what Rey's parents are, too, in the show. But Yeah, I like the Mace Windu explanations though, because it did make a lot of sense throughout all of it.
Yeah, absolutely. It very much did. Absolutely, dug the theory, and I thought that was great. So more altered fun here. We have, I know you're not technically into these things, but I just thought it was kind of cool. Funko Pop, the Pop vinyl figures.
Mm-hmm.
They're putting out Animaniacs figures. They're putting out Pinky and the Brain, Yakko, Wacko, and Dot. This is hilarious. This is awesome. This is so cool. Because generally when I see these Pop Funko dolls, they're superhero-ish or other characters, and just that they're paying attention to Animaniacs anything, to me, is awesome. What did you think of these overall designs here for these?
I mean, I liked them. I think they were better than a lot of the other designs I've seen of these things.
Right.
Like any of the superhero ones, I think just look like garbage. But for the Animaniacs and Pinky and the Brain, I think that they fit the look and the aesthetic of the giant head, little body type thing really well. But I don't think that other than that, I don't think that they're very. I don't like them personally. I think that they're. Yeah. To me, it's like a knockoff of the Mighty Mugs.
Yeah, but sadly, Mighty Mugs are not around anymore, and Funko Pop has been doing this for a long time.
They won't be around very long either. They're in all the geek boxes right now, but there's going to come a time where they're going to disappear too.
I think my favorite ones outside of the Animaniacs ones were the Batman Beyond ones. I thought those were really cool.
I don't have any I don't have any affinity for anything that doesn't look show accurate. Like, if I can't get show accurate toys of something, I don't want them.
Yeah.
Like, I've even given up like as far as my old Beast Wars toys, I don't want anything to do with them because they look nothing like the original, like the toys that how the show looks. I mean, I have no reason to want them.
Right.
So
one of the last things, two more things here that we're going to bring up. The Supergirl Season 2, Episode 1, there was a sneak peek on YouTube done by the CW network channel where it shows her and Superman in action. This looks awesome.
Mm-hmm.
This looks really, really cool. I cannot wait for the DC TV stuff to come back. I think it's going to be an awesome season for all of the shows. I know someone was worried about, I forget who it was concerned that what if they're going to leave Superman in most of the season and take away from... I don't think they're going to do that. I really don't. I think that the way I explained it was, I feel that they're putting Superman in this first season 2 episode to boost the season premiere ratings.
I don't even think it's that. I think that it's to serve the story. Because I think that they've always wanted to have Superman on there. It's just that they didn't want to detract from Supergirl herself.
Right.
So, I think that they're doing it tastefully now, where they're going to have him in the first 2 episodes, and then they're going to have him kind of sporadically show up. But it's very much still going to be her show. And especially with them mixed, they've got Martian Manhunter already in there. So you've got 3 heroes. And then mixing, Flash, Arrow, Legends of Tomorrow, and Earth 2 on the Flash, you have a giant multitude of heroes now.
Speaking of all of them, did you see Fight Club 2.0?
No, I didn't care to watch it.
I mean, it's not anything... It's really fun, though. It's basically Arrow and Flash come in. She's in a chair, handcuffed. They essentially kidnapped her, and she's like, you realize I let you kidnap me? And Arrow's like, no, I'm pretty sure we could have taken you. She breaks out of the chair, and that's when all the Legends characters show up. And she just turns to Barry and goes... Is this that Fight Club thing you were telling me about? And he just nods. Yeah, I just thought it was hilarious. I thought it was really fun. And And the last thing I'll bring up this week, I saw an image on Facebook that I shared. I forget where I shared it from. Oh, it was from DC Comics fans. We used to love McDonald's, right? So their image here is the McFlash, the McReverse, the McZoom, and the McEffed up timeline. So the McFlash is a red bun burger. The McReverse is a yellow bun burger. The McZoom is a black bun burger with blue cheese instead of yellow cheese. And then the McEffed up timeline is a bun with a box of fries in it. I thought that was hilarious.
I saw that. I think that the burger thing was a little weird, but
I thought that was funny. Our buddy Ender says, the McZoom would turn your McPoop green.
So it's a veggie burger.
Oh no, are we really going to have that discussion again?
The McZoom, it's going to run right through your colon. Kind of like Taco Bell. And I'll leave that right there for you to think about. Moving on.
Talk about a colonoscopy.
Speaking of one of those. Got to sift through the crap. Yeah, so I was tasked this past week with casting or running a casting call.
Cool.
Online for a Transformers website that I was a member of, and now I'm one of the co-webmasters of. It's thetransformersnetwork.com, because apparently we don't have the original transformersnetwork.com, because the guy that kind of, aka, stole it, bought it off somebody who stole it from the original owner. Anyways, there's an ad that they designed that's going to be a 3D animated thing with Megatronus and Optimus Prime and a person more or less introducing the Transformers network and all the information, and I get to cast the Optimus Prime, the narrator, and I have in my mind, I obviously want a Optimus Prime to sound like Peter Cullen, and I want
Bailey.
No, I can't get him because it's a paid gig. And it's a they've got a minimum for people that are in the. He's not allowed to kind of do that stuff anymore. So I got to find somebody else that sounds comparable. I've only had one audition so far, two auditions so far. One guy sounds nothing like him, and the other guy, and I'm like, you obviously know that it's Optimus Prime. Like, why are you giving me this weird, like, he sounds like this, and I'm like, no, that's not even Optimus Prime. Like, don't even waste your time. And so like the other guy is like, he's deeper like this, but he doesn't quite have the Optimus Primeisms. But I could get away with it if I needed to. But I could, I could almost do it. And they're like, it's not a lot, but it's like $50 a pop for PayPal payment for everybody involved, like each person. The narrator, I have in my mind, I want a Victor Caroli knocked off.
Oh, yeah, that would be awesome.
Because, like, when I hear Transformers, and I'm pretty sure the webmaster, main owner of the site would agree with me, I hear Victor Caroli.
Oh, yeah.
And I hear him, it is the year 2005, the evil Decepticons, and stuff like that. And that's what I envision when I hear it. So, and I was told that I'm to play a character. So I am going to be playing Megatronus. And I'm allowed to use my David K voice.
Sweet.
Because they don't like the voice of Megatronus. They thought David K should have been Megatronus.
Yeah.
Although Megatronus was kind of a hack. He got, like, one episode, bye-bye.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking forward to getting to do that because I'll get to be Beast Wars Megatron. But
cool.
I'm going to put a little bit of a different twist on it because it's going to be Beast Wars Megatron, but I'm going to do it more like robotic. I've got this weird thing I can do with my vocal cords, which surprised them when I did the... Because when we recorded for Dark Glass, all the lines, I had a crappy microphone, and I'm glad I didn't waste my time re-recording the lines because I had a crappy lines for some of the lines, but because the other ones I had my new microphone. But the project still in hiatus. I'm the only one with the keys to the kingdom right now. Maybe I'll get that on board at some point. But the this thing with the vocal cords, I can make them do a vocoder. With Megatron alone is the only character I can do that with.
Oh, sweet.
There's a particular vibration you can do with your throat, and I can make it so that it sounds like Megatron, Beast Wars Megatron has the vocal effect of like the classic Transformers or like the very sinister like Beast Machines version.
Right.
And so when I did the auditions and I did the lines for Dark Glass, they were like, what vocal effect did you put on there? Because I really like it and I want to add it to the others. And I'm like, that was me. And they're like, whoa.
You know what my next question is going to be, right?
Yes.
Sample, please.
Of what? Megatron?
Yeah.
You want one of the lines?
Whatever you want to do.
You're going to give me 2 seconds because I gotta get a drink of water.
All right, we're going to take another quick break so Megatron can get his Barney stuff together. We'll be back after this.
I love you. Shut up, bitch. I'm not done.
Hold it right there, Megatronus. How did you find the Crystal City? The secret location was revealed to me at the TransformersNetwork.com. They have all the latest news and information on everything Transformers. Now the secrets of this city shall be mine. I cannot allow you to go any further. You'll never stop me, Prime. I am the emissary of an ancient evil. Serving bots across the galaxy since the year 2000, the premier source for Transformers news and media, the TransformersNetwork.com.
Yeah, that's pretty much the script.
Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Megatron. Yay! Yay! That's awesome, dude.
So yeah, that's what I gotta do, only I gotta do it cleaner. I was like, they could just pay me the entire amount and I'll do the whole thing and send it to them, but I have to, for the sake of things, like actually try and get people.
Yeah.
But
well, yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, if I don't realistically find anybody that sounds, oh yeah, I got a couple of people that did. Because I just checked. I have it. Two of the places I use for casting stuff is Voice Acting Alliance, which I've been a member of for ages, since like 2005. That's how I found the Transformers Headmasters thing.
Right.
That I started doing Scourge at, which funny enough about Scourge, and I'll get to that later, but it's the one Transformers character that's not a Commander and not a Megatron that I just absolutely love. And I think it's because I can do the voice of the character, and I've been doing it since 2005 on the Headmasters projects. Like any of the Headmasters projects I find, I'm like purposely auditioning for Scourge every time.
Right.
I'm using Behind the Voice Actors for the auditions too. And
cool.
What I like about Transformers or the Behind the Voice Actors compared to Voice Acting Alliance is still a forum. Behind the voice actors, a couple of years ago, came up with this thing called Casting Call, where they managed to allow you to post project details. And this is that other site that Kevin's associated with and an admin on. And it allows you to do like project title, audition deadline, format, category, classification, franchise, offering, whether it's paid or not, audio format, contact details, status, public auditions, characters, auditions submitted, views, owner, date created, description. And you can create your own like graphic to put in there for the thing. And then it shows cast roles and shows who's casted to what, and then characters available for audition. And it gives you the name. You can select a picture either from their gallery that's built into the site, or you can do a custom image. And then you just do the name, gender, age, characteristics, and then people can upload 3 audition files in MP3 format for the 3 lines, and then you have the ability to download them or play them from the site. Do shout-outs, comments, and you can make them public so other people can listen to them, and people can vote on them and whatnot. But ultimately, you can still cast whoever you want. So, yeah, I really love dealing with that because I don't physically have to organize emails or MP3s because they're all visually there, and it tells me who submitted. It tells me, it lets me play all of their stuff, and then I can collectively watch them all from right there, and it just makes it easier because I have, because I'm currently casting 2 at the same time, Altered Generations. My screenplay that's like 60 minutes long.
Right. And
I want to produce it, but at the same time, it terrifies me because it's going to be a 60-minute, basically, podcast when I edit it together. Yeah. And I got to put sound effects and background music and whatnot and turn it into a kind of a full production. And what I'm kind of thinking of doing, because it was kind of, mentioned. And I forgive me, I forget who brought it up in one of the episodes when I was talking about it, but about producing it into an audio play. And I'm thinking about doing it, and I put out the audition shortly thereafter, and I'm still taking auditions for it because I still haven't found all the characters I need. I have cast a few people already, which is kind of surprising, but I have like 12 emails that I still have yet to listen to people's stuff for the project, which makes it harder. And I've had 13 auditions right from Voice Acting Alliance, which again, it's nicer because I can physically cast them there and see the visual representation. And I've already cast myself as like obviously the main character because it's based off of me. Right. And then Mega Drive, which is the hero, that's the alter ego of the character I play. So obviously I'm both of those. And then I have about another dozen or so characters, and I've cast one of the lead villains already to a guy that signed up shortly thereafter after I posted it, and I was like, yep, that's my villain Derek Antares. And then I cast another guy as Professor Glacier, which is kind of my Mr. Freeze knockoff, but I wanted more of a different stylized character than Mr. Freeze. Like, he kind of looks similar, but he's not like actually cryo. He's a mad scientist more or less. He likes his...
He's a cross between Mr. Freeze and Lex Luthor, mad scientist.
Basically. Yeah. That's kind of how I envisioned him. He's got like the cold calculating part of Mr. Freeze and kind of looks similar, but he functions more like, Lex Luthor. Hopped up on kryptonite. Or like a Brainiac or something to that degree. Derek Antares is kind of like your Lex Luthor, but he's also kind of like your Rupert Thorne and your some of the mobsters built into there.
Oh, please don't tell me he's going to have a dummy.
What are you talking about? No, he's not going to be Scarface.
Thank God you got that reference.
But I should. I did the review show with you.
I know, right?
But there's some nice twists and turns like I've got planned for future episodes, but I might change the format of the show, like rewrite the script somewhat so I can turn them into 30-minute things. But what I might do when I start producing it after I get lines recorded is cut it up into like 10-minute segments and include them in Altered Geek. Mm-hmm. And this is going to be, it probably won't be till next year where I get that done because, or segments of it done because obviously I'm going to have to still cast people and then get them to record all of their lines.
Right.
And it's a huge script and there's no pay for it because I don't have money.
Right.
I would love to turn this into an animated series, which may be possible if I can figure out what I need to do to get things to move and do what I need them to do graphically, like I did with the top 100. I got my feet wet with the top 100 thing, kind of playing around with the aspect of mouth movement and stuff like that. So I would have to do a lot more graphically to get this to do what I want. But I might play around with that because I have to create for class a intro video to either a logo for a TV show, like kind of like they did with the teasers for Supergirl on CW before they showed anything. Like a 30-second video of where they're like showing clouds and speed and stuff, but they never actually show anything, and then they show the channel and then the name of the show, and that's it. So I might do something to that vein for Altered Generations, but I might also try and show some of the characters doing some talking or moving in the background.
Yeah.
Not entirely sure. I just got to figure it out still, but I think it would be funny if I did that.
Awesome. So before we close it out, I wasn't going to bring this up, but since we're getting ready to close the show here for you guys, there was an image that came up on Facebook that is kind of funny. And I actually sent this to you in the email for this episode. There was an image that came up that it's basically, I forget which episode of G1 it is, but it's Megatron. Basically, he removes Lincoln and sits in the chair at the Lincoln Memorial. And the picture basically says, Megatron for president, tyranny we can trust.
Ain't that the truth?
The only reason why I'm even bringing this up, I'm not trying to get political. I just saw a buddy of mine. Actually, it's a buddy of mine and Michael Wilson's. I think Michael Wilson's more of a friend of the guy than I am. Carl Gomberg on Facebook commented on a photo, so I saw the photo. And it's of some guy, kind of looks like Tom Cruise. I don't think it's Tom Cruise. It says, feel free to block and unfriend me because I'm not voting for Hillary Clinton. Okay, the only reason why I'm bringing this up is because it has nothing to do with Hillary, has nothing to do with Trump, has nothing to do with the Johnson, whatever the hell third party that is, I don't know, whatever. It has nothing to do with anything like that. Has to do with the simple fact of how I was raised, okay? I was raised where you don't ask people how much they make because it's none of your friggin' business.
I guess for politics and presidents, that is actually something that they've done since Nixon because Nixon had so many. No.
But what I'm saying, like, okay, what I'm saying is no. This part about asking people how much, no, like, I'm not gonna sit here, even though you and I have been, best friends for 8 years, 9 years now, whatever long it's been. I should never ask you, Steve, how much money do you make? Or person on the street, how much money do you make? Or mom and dad, how much money? It's that one question. It has nothing to do with asking the candidates for president or anything, or release tax returns, whatever. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the fact that I was raised, there are several questions you do not ask. One of them is asking anyone how much money they make, because as I just said, it's none of your flipping business. Number two, telling people or asking people, either telling people who you're voting for or people asking you, who are you going to vote for? I was raised And I don't know, maybe I'm backwards here. People, let me know if anyone else has been raised like this. There are just certain questions you don't ask. And the voting question thing was another one. You just don't ask. And you don't advertise it. But we live in a world now where everything is social media. Social media is everywhere. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Vine, whatever the hell. But what has happened to this country? What has happened to the values that we were taught from our parents compared to what the hell is going on in this country now? That's what I want to know.
I have no idea.
Yeah. So, I think on that note, that's what we're going to leave you with, folks.
Hey, if you want to argue politics, bring some up, and then I'll actually talk about them next week.
Well,
For a brief segment. I would do like a 10-minute thing. Like a blitz of politics.
You know what we ought to do? What we really ought to do next week?
What?
159 before the 160.
What? You want me to just insert GCRN Wars episode 1 and then we'll just call it a night?
No! I want an updated version. We got to get your brother Brian back on.
Yeah, that's almost impossible anymore with his hours.
We got to find a way. I'm sure we could find a way. I'm sure we could. That would be hilarious.
This isn't a Toy Story short. Combat Carl finds a way.
All right, folks. Next week is the start of DC TV. Okay, sure, Gotham has already started. We're 2 episodes in, and Gotham's doing fair. I'm still interested in
I'm actually more interested this season than I was the first season. And I'm liking how they explain Ivy. I'm liking what they've done with just about everybody. I wish that Gordon would go back to being a cop. I think it'll happen just before Barnes dies.
Yeah, probably.
And then he'll become captain, or,
Commissioner.
Well, he'll become captain.
Yeah.
And then there'll be a time later where he becomes commissioner, because commissioner is still a D-bag that's on there. But
that's true.
And then Lethal Weapon's just been awesome.
Okay. So
I couldn't help it. I enjoyed it.
No, absolutely. I agree. We've got 2 episodes of Lethal Weapon so far. I have enjoyed both of them. There have not been any moments where I felt that it was ripping on what came before or tearing what came before down. They use various plot elements from the films, like the fact that Murtaugh's 50 years old, the fact that he was going to retire. Actually, he was in the series. He ended up in the TV series. He ended up dead at one point, and he came back from the dead. Riggs' wife, same kind of story. She did die and all. So I'm really enjoying it. The funny thing is, our good buddy from Simplistic Reviews, DJ Valentine, he is against it.
The show?
Yeah.
Why? I love Damon Wayans, so that's.
I'm gonna find out soon because he and I are gonna do a very interesting podcast coming up. We're gonna watch up to episode 5 of Lethal Weapon because I don't know. I looked earlier. I don't remember. And I don't remember seeing any articles online of how many episodes the series, the first season, is supposed to actually have. I couldn't find that earlier. So we're going to at least watch the first 5 episodes, and then we're going to do a little comedy skit of our own. So that's going to be an interesting little...
Oh, you guys going to do your own skit?
Kind of, yeah.
That'd be great.
For those that don't know, DJ Valentine is African American. I'm a white guy, so just use your brains, folks.
Will it? I'm not too old for this shit. I'm not too old for this shit. You will not. We're not too old for this shit. We're not too old for this shit. We're not too old for this. Say it like you believe it. We're not too old for this shit. Yeah.
So that's going on. But like I said, DC TV comes back next week with Flash and Arrow and Legends. I believe Legends comes back next week. I could be wrong, but I know Flash and Arrow are back next week. The week after that, the Monday, October 10th, is when Supergirl Season 2 starts. Absolutely awesome. Cannot wait for all the DC TV on the CW. I think that's going to wrap it up this week.
Yep, I think so. I can't wait to talk more TV. It's been funny because I've been in a crappy mood like half the day and had no reason why.
Mm-hmm.
And like I'm fully restored now, and I have no reason why.
That's because I'm here, dude. That's just what happens. It's my magnetic personality.
I think it's because I vented.
There you go. That too.
You know, that altered geek.
You know, we have a behind the scenes thing on the website that no one can see. That our good buddy Movie Revolt Dan said we should revive Headshot in written form.
Did he actually say that?
You haven't seen that yet?
No.
Where's go look at the thing. Go look at the thing.
Where's the thing?
It's on the forum thing.
The staff one?
Yeah.
Oh, shows how much I pay attention.
Do your catchphrase.
Oh, okay. Get altered, get geeky with the Altered Geeks.
Oh, yes.
Welcome to the Wicked Radio Network.
Want to interact with the show? You can contact us in the following ways. You can call the voicemail line 502-526-5821. You can email us feedback@geekcastradio.com. You can visit the episode post on geekcastradio.com or alteredgeek.com. You can get a hold of us on Twitter @alteredgeek. Look for us every week on geekcastradio.com, of course, Stitcher Smart Radio, iTunes, Blog Talk Radio, and alteredgeek.com. And now, back to the show.
Yeah, I understand, Mr. White. No, Mr. White. Yes, Mr. White. Yes, I will have my article on your desk, lickety-split. Yes, sir. I know that no one says lickety-split anymore. Although you do still say Great Caesar's Ghost, which is a bit of a throwback. No, yes, sir. I'm very aware that we are not talking about you. Right. Yes, sir. Yes, I will have that to you. Hello?
Hang on. We're hearing of a possible explosion aboard the Venture.
Here's all we know at this time. There are over 200 people aboard the craft. There are no further details, but keep it right here and we'll continue to bring you the very latest.
We can only hope wherever he is, he's seeing this.
I pray she's watching this.
She is.
Mayday, we have experienced a hull breach and catastrophic engine failure. Supergirl.
Need a hand?
Hey, cuz.
It's good to see you.
This looks like a job for the both of us.
Absolutely.
Supergirl, season premiere Monday, October 10th on the CW.